Hello and welcome to Wool and the Gang's Obsessed Blanket Make-Along. This video is part 1 of 4 in a series that will help you complete your Obsessed Blanket kit from start to finish. In this video, you will learn exactly what you need to get started. We will show you what tools you will need, how to cast on, how to knit your first square, the garter square, and how to cast off. Follow our other videos to learn how to create your stocking stitch square and your stocking stitch stripe square, and then how to complete your project by sewing your squares together and weaving in your ends. Here is everything you will need to make your pattern. First off, you will need 10 balls of that Al Pacino Merino yarn in 5 different shades. Today we are using Midnight Blue, Sahara Dust, Espresso Brown, Powder Blue, Cameo Rose. This yarn is 100% natural and perfect for a soft blanket. You will also need 1 Obsessed Blanket written pattern, 1 pair of 6.5 knitting needles, 1 sewing needle, a pair of scissors, and 1 sew-in label. So let's get started. We will begin by working on the garter square. The first step is to cast on. This technique will be the same no matter which square you work on. So to cast on, first we need our yarn. You can find the end in the middle of your ball and pull that out. Once you have your end of your ball ready, we need to make a slip knot. So wrap it around your fingers like that and pull through. Now bring in your needles ready and slip it onto your first needle, like so. If you pull this end of your slip knot, it will tighten. You want it to sit snugly on your needle, but not too tight, so that there's enough room to squeeze in your other needle. So slip your needle in there underneath your left-hand needle. Take your end of yarn that is attached to the ball and then wrap it around the bottom needle, like so that it goes in between the 2 needles. Now bring the tip of your right needle down, catching that loop that you wrapped around, and pull it through like that. Now we're going to slip this stitch that's on your right needle onto your left needle, like so. Your slip knot at the beginning will always count as your first stitch. So now I've cast on 1 stitch. For this pattern, we need to cast on a total of 18 stitches. So now insert your right needle in between the 2 stitches on your left needle, going underneath the left needle like that in a cross shape. Take your end of yarn and again wrap it round your right needle like so. Pull it down through so that the tip catches that loop of yarn to make a loop on your right needle, and now that you're going to place onto your left needle. So now you have 3 stitches on your left needle. Again, insert your right needle in between the last 2 stitches on your left needle, like so. Wrap your yarn around, bring through with the tip, and then slip that stitch onto your left needle, like so. So now I've got 4, I'm going to keep going until I have 18 stitches on my left needle. And there you go, you have 18 stitches now on your needle. So now that you've finished casting on, you're ready to start working in garter stitch. Now that you've cast on the correct amount of stitches, we can begin to knit. For the garter stitch square, we will be doing the knit stitch over and over again. It's the easiest of all stitches, so it's a great one to start on if you're a beginner. To work a knit stitch, start by inserting your right hand needle into the front of the first stitch, from left to right, and so that it sits underneath this left hand needle. Take your yarn and wrap it around the right hand needle. Now, lower this tip down so that it catches that loop when you bring it back up through, just like you did with the cast on stitch. But this is where it differs from the cast on. You will not be putting this onto your other needle, but instead you're going to be slipping that stitch that is on your left needle off completely, like so. So there you go, you've completed your first stitch. To do that again, insert your right hand needle into the next stitch on your left needle, going through that loop and sitting underneath your left needle in a cross shape. Take your yarn, wrap it around and lower the tip down and pull through that loop. Then slide the stitch that's on your left needle off the top, like that. Super easy. So insert your right needles like so, wrap around, pull down, pull up and slip off. Continue doing this to every stitch on your left hand needle until you reach the end of your row. And there you go, you have one row of garter stitch. Now it's time to move on to your second row. You now need to swap your needles around. The needle that has the stitches on is in your right hand and the empty one is in your left. Swap these over. So now the one with stitches on is in your left and the empty one is in your right. You're now going to knit every stitch of your row again. So just as you did before, insert your right hand needle into that first stitch underneath so it's in a cross shape. Take your end of yarn that's attached to the ball, wrap it round, pull it through to catch that loop and then slip the stitch off the top of your left needle. Insert in, wrap around, pull through, slip off. It's as simple as that. Keep doing that until you reach the end of your row. And again, once you've finished, swap your needles over to work another row. Continue working in garter stitch, which is just working every knit stitch of every row until you've made about 32 rows or until your garter square measures 13 centimeters or 5.1 inches from the cast on edge. Once we've reached the correct length, we need to cast off our stitches. This is how we create a neater edge and secure all the stitches on our needle to finish our garter square. This is the same technique whether you're working on the garter stitch square, the stocking stitch square, or the striped square. So we're going to show you how to do this using the garter stitch square. To cast off, first we need to knit the 2 stitches of the row as normal. So take your empty needle in your right hand and insert it into the first stitch so it sits underneath the left needle. Wrap your yarn around, pull through a loop and slide the stitch off your left needle. Do that again for the next stitch. Now we have 2 stitches on this right needle. You need to insert the tip of this left needle into that first stitch. We're now going to lift that first stitch up and over the second stitch. So take it to the end of your needle, making sure you don't drop the second stitch, and lift it over and pull through that second stitch. So that secures the stitch. Now, we always need to have 2 stitches on our right needle to cast off. So knit another one off of your left needle, like so. Then take your left needle, insert it into that first one on your right needle, lift it up and over, like so. Continue doing this until you reach the end of your row and you only have 1 stitch left. Now knit the last stitch on your left needle, so it's over onto the right needle, and take this stitch and lift it up over that last stitch, like so. So now you just have 1 stitch left. Now you need to get your scissors and cut the yarn, leaving a tail so that you have enough to weave your ends in later. Now pull this loop that's on your needle out like this, and then that will secure your last stitch to stop anything from unraveling. And now you can see you've got a nice clean cast off edge. Don't worry about these ends for now, we'll weave those in later. So now that you've cast off, you've just completed your first garter square. For the Obsessed blanket, you will need a total of 10 garter stitch squares, 2 in each colour. Thanks so much for watching our How to Get Started video. To learn how to complete the rest of your Obsessed blanket kit, follow along the rest of our tutorials and learn how to complete your stocking stitch square, then how to complete your stocking stitch stripe square, and finally how to construct your finished piece. Thanks for watching, bye!